true spectacle of Aladdin is really more about like the ensemble and their costumes because the Broadway version actually takes 180 people to perform, which is insane. That's a huge number
lot.
Of people.
Broadway, here I come. Broadway, here I come. Broadway, here I come. Broadway, here I come. Broadway, here I come.
Hey guys!
Hi!
Welcome to Broadway Battles, a 4-seasons podcast and talk show where you'll hear us discuss 2 musicals with a similar theme in a debate-style conversation.
You'll also get to hear performances of songs from these musicals by talented performers from the Chicagoland area.
Yes, and in addition to hearing us talk, by the way, I'm Kayln.
And I'm Saish.
You will also hear amazing performances from Lauren Kuehni and Saish Pothina singing songs from The Little Mermaid and Aladdin.
Which are our 2 musicals for today.
Yes, in our Disney-themed episode.
All right, so really quickly before we begin, I just want to remind you that 70% of the proceeds from today's episode will go to the Chicago Children's Theater, which is an amazing organization that that uses the arts to serve all kids from the Chicago area, and they put a real emphasis on underrepresented communities, so it's a really great organization, so please help us support them.
Yes, they are such an amazing organization. We love what they stand for.
All right. So really quickly before we get into the episode, our categories for today, our themes, we'll talk quickly about like the synopsis of each musical, and then we're going to talk about music composition, the story, the design, and character development. All right, let's get into the episode.
Let's get started.
All right, let's get into the episode. So I'm going to start by giving a quick overview of the synopsis of Aladdin, just to give you a sense of how it goes. Okay, so Aladdin basically starts with the genie, who is kind of like an early narrator, I guess. He welcomes the audience to the Middle Eastern city of Agrabah, which is where Aladdin takes place. And then we also get to hear from Princess Jasmine, who's the princess. But she's supposed to be married off, but she refuses like another suitor at the beginning, which kind of like shows how she doesn't really want that out of her life. She doesn't just want to be married off. But there's another guy who turns out to be the villain. His name is Jafar, and he's very disturbed by the news that Princess Jasmine doesn't want to be married off because it messes with all of his plans. And his plans are not great. He wants to take over the kingdom and kind of usurp the sultan. So he makes this plan to steal from this thing called the Cave of Wonders, and in order to do that, he hears that he needs to find a diamond in the rough to go in, and that diamond in the rough turns out to be Aladdin. Meanwhile, Jasmine then sneaks out of the palace and meets Aladdin. She pretends to be part of like his world when really she's a princess. So then that situation means that Jafar meets Aladdin and takes him to the Cave of Wonders, and Aladdin agrees to go in, but he's told not to touch anything, which he doesn't do a very good job. So the cave, I think the cave, collapses in. It's all very crazy.
Yeah.
He ends up rubbing the magic lamp, which is what Jafar told him to get, and we meet the genie again. But Aladdin, he's very clever. He ends up tricking Jafar into wishing to become the genie because Jafar is very, power hungry. And Aladdin eventually confesses his love for Jasmine and as himself. He shows who he really is, and the Sultan allows them to be married, which is great.
Aww, what a sweet ending. I love it. And then for Little Mermaid, we have the show based off of the movie and the classic fairy tale, both of the same name, Little Mermaid. But anyways, in the show, we open with Ariel singing about how she just kind of wants to leave the ocean. She wants to explore the world above and see humans and things like that. And she ultimately ends up missing a concert while exploring the world above with her sidekick Flounder. And when she comes back, her father, King Triton, as well as Sebastian, his his assistant, if you will, they were both pretty upset with her. And of course, this kind of sets rebellious Ariel into a mood because she doesn't understand why she can't make her own decisions. But after this, we kind of see Ariel under the sea, kind of trying to live her life, but she's still unsatisfied. And eventually, she ends up going up to sea again and saving Prince Eric from a shipwreck. And when her father finds out, he is very, very upset. And all the while, her aunt, Ursula, has been watching this, kind of trying to figure out how she can kind of mess things up here for Ariel, just because of her jealousy. And I mean, she's the sea witch, she's evil, that's kind of what she does. So when she sees Ariel, when her and her serpents, I should say, see Ariel kind of upset after her father has gotten mad at her for saving a human, she ends up convincing Ariel to agree to this deal where she exchanges her voice for legs for 3 days so that she can be a human and try and get Eric to fall in love with her. And if she succeeds, then she can be human forever and live happily ever after with him. So, when we get to Act 2, we see Ariel in the world above with the humans at the castle with Eric, and he does slowly start to fall for her. And as that happens, Ursula's watching, upset, so eventually she finds out just as the time is about to run out. King Triton also finds out with Ursula, so they show up to this contest that Grimsby is holding for Eric to find someone, because obviously Ariel's not talking, so he kind of would rather if Eric has someone who speaks. So anyways, in the end, Ariel ends up breaking Ursula's magic conch shell, and she ultimately destroys her power. And with that, her father kind of comes around and accepts humans. Ariel is able to have legs that her father gives her with his sea magic. Ursula's gone, and mermaids and humans live in harmony.
Lovely.
So sweet.
Very sweet. Okay, so go back to Aladdin. I just want to talk a little bit about the music composition of it. So I think both of these were composed by Alan Menken.
Oh, yes, we love him.
And he did the scores for a lot of different Disney musicals, including Little Mermaid and Aladdin.
Yes, yeah.
And I think Aladdin is probably most famous for the songs A Whole New World and Friend Like Me. And A Whole New World is where Aladdin and Jasmine sing about their new perspectives as they're falling in love and they're flying on the magic carpet. It's a very iconic moment.
Classic Disney scene.
Yeah, it's very classic. And also both of those songs are in the movie version.
Mm-hmm.
And then there's also Friend Like Me, which is where the genie sings to Aladdin when he first rubs the lamp and shows how he can be a great friend and he can help Aladdin out so much. There are also some real fan favorites like Proud of Your Boy, which are known more for the musical side of it.
Amazing. I absolutely love that piece, Sage, I have to say.
Pretty. And I think that both of A Whole New World and Friend Like Me are really great because I think they work really well at sort of any level, from children's theater where they're very sweet and they can be fun ensemble numbers, to Broadway where they're I don't know, they're a little more complex and very sharp and just really quite a spectacle.
Yeah.
So I think that's why that's part of why the music composition works so well for these.
That's interesting that you said that about all ages, because going off of that with The Little Mermaid, I feel for the show's audience, because it's a classic Disney show, princess, movie, musical, it's well known, and it appeals to all ages. So little children from 5 to adults to 95 can enjoy this show. And I feel they have these upbeat songs, especially in the first act. We see those upbeat group numbers, and those are really good for younger kids. We also have those throwaway songs, if you will, Positivity with the seagulls dancing and the chef's song Le Poisson. We see those, and I mean those are kind of throwaway, just kind of fun pieces, not really central to the plot line. But then we also have these other songs, especially in Act 2, where we kind of see that character development and why the characters kind of do what they do through this music and through these songs. And I feel that's really nice because that's where adults and people who are a little older can kind of start thinking about the messages within a children's show. So I think that's kind of interesting. Something else about the songs in this is I feel like they also kind of talk about that sense of belonging. That's kind of that overarching theme. Like Ariel, I know she's kind of like I don't really feel like I belong in the ocean. Like I don't really love this. Like I'm curious. I want to know what's up there beyond the sea, what the humans do up above. So she kind of has that, and then even Prince Eric in his songs like Fathoms Below, the opening of the show, he kind of is trying to say, hey, I like the sea. Like I don't really want to be royalty type of thing. And I feel like that's kind of in Aladdin as well. We have that sense of belonging with Jasmine leaving the castle, Aladdin being like considered a street rat. Yeah. So I feel like that's interesting with the songs in the show, how they have those like central themes.
Yeah.
And also too in Little Mermaid, they have a big girl power focus because there are a lot of like ballads and girl roles in the show. We have Ariel obviously as our princess, but then we have like these other like 6 princesses I believe, like in the second act in the contest. We have maids who have their own like solo ballads. So we have a lot going on here for the women in the show.
Yeah. Okay, is it just me, or were you scared of Les Poissons when you were, like, a little kid? That's definitely a song thing. I was, like, terrified of that song. I had to, like, leave the theater, I think.
That's so funny.
Yeah.
I feel like in the movie, I always thought it was, like, interesting how they were, like, trying to, like, boil, like, Sebastian. I feel like that threw me.
I was so scared for Sebastian. I was, like, traumatized by that chef dude.
That's terrifying for little children.
Yeah.
But, as we're talking about these songs from The Little Mermaid, we're going to go ahead and transition here to our performer, Lauren Kuehni, who will be performing Part of Your World from The Little Mermaid.
Look at this stuff, isn't it neat? Wouldn't you think my collection's complete? Wouldn't you think I'm the girl who has everything? Look at this trove, treasures untold. How many wonders can one cavern hold? Looking around here you think, sure, she's got everything. I've got gadgets and gizmos aplenty. I've got who's its and what's its galore. You want thingamabobs? I've got 20. But who cares? No big deal. I want more. I wanna be where the people are. I wanna see 'em dancing, walking around on those, what do you call 'em? Oh, feet. Flipping your fins, you don't get too far. Legs are required for jumping, dancing, strolling along down the, what's that word again? Street. Up where they walk, up where they run, up where they stay all day in the sun, wandering free. Wish I could be part of that world. What would I give if I could live out of these waters? What would I pay to spend the day warm on the sand? Betcha on land they understand, but they don't reprimand their daughters. Bright young women, sick of swimming, ready to stand and ready to know what the people know. Ask them my questions and get some answers. What's a fire and why does it, what's the word, burn? When's it my turn? Wouldn't I love to explore that shore above? Out of the sea. Wish I could be part of that world.
Wow, Lauren, That was
Lauren, you were
amazing.
amazing. Like, such a princess voice, too. Like, that was beautiful.
Thank you so much. Okay, so now we want to get into our next category, which is the story. So I guess I'll start. I think the story of Aladdin is really just about wanting to be seen and kind of accepted for who you really are and not like who society says you should be.
Oh, yeah,
I
for
think
sure.
it makes a lot of sense because, you know, Aladdin is initially, he's seen as like a street rat. He then, like, he feels like he's destined for more, so he pretends to be a prince, but he ends up really finding his acceptance when he admits who he really is. And Jasmine, initially, she just doesn't want to be wed off to, like, the highest bidding prince, which, I mean, who can blame her? So she sneaks into Aladdin's world, and, you know, eventually she's just pulled back to the palace, and she finds her acceptance and her new life because she showed Aladdin who she really was. It's a really sweet message.
Such a sweet story. I totally agree with you. And then with Little Mermaid, I feel like we kind of see a natural transition with the story where the first act is kind of like those big dance numbers and just kind of like fun setting up the plot. But then in the second act, we kind of get into those deeper themes with like what's going on with the characters and what's like the message behind. Like, and like you said, I feel like there's definitely that sense of belonging, who are you type of thing in The Little Mermaid, where we have like these royal members, Ariel and Eric, trying to figure out their place in their own respective societies, or I guess really their land and sea, so more than a society really if we're thinking about it. But nonetheless, I think that the conflict though that really drives this is that Ariel's relationship with her father is kind of on the blink because of her curiosity with the human world, something that he opposes. And she ends up being able to shift his perspective to see that maybe different isn't always bad. And I feel like that's the principal theme within the story of Little Mermaid.
Yeah, it's great. It's very relevant for sure. Okay, so next we want to talk about the design of both of these shows. Obviously, they're both Disney shows, so they're both very like impressive. Usually Disney puts on a pretty good show.
A big spectacle.
Yeah. So the set for Aladdin is definitely impressive. It has like massive Art Deco columns, but honestly, it doesn't fill the stage like many Broadway like musicals. I feel like they have more filled up stages. It's kind of the true spectacle of Aladdin is really more about like the ensemble and their costumes because the Broadway version actually takes 180 people to perform, which is insane. That's a huge number of people. But to be honest, when you're watching it, it feels like there are so many more than that. I would have guessed like 500 people, and the reason is because so they're all wearing these like elaborate, glittery costumes. They're really like flashy and impressive. But each cast member and each ensemble member changes so many times, particularly during the song Friend Like Me. That song is insane. It's
yeah, you're right. That does have a lot of costume changes.
Yeah, it's honestly it's supposed to be like an homage to 42nd Street where they change a lot. But I would guess, I mean, I'm not sure exactly, but I think every ensemble member probably changes 15 times while they're doing that like parade and they come out. It's insane. And yeah, the whole show has pretty like impressive special effects that I mean are standard for a Broadway production, but that includes like the magic carpet, which honestly it looks like it's really flying. It's really impressive. It's like I don't know, the strings are indetectable. It's pretty cool.
I mean, I have to say, for Little Mermaid, obviously the whole, I mean, not the whole show, but a lot of the show is based under the sea. Yeah. So for that, they actually don't use any, like, trick wires or anything like that. Instead, it's all in the lighting design. So they use the lighting to shift, like, between ocean and land, or, like, different ocean scenes, like Ariel's grotto versus just, like, under the sea in general, things like that. But something for the costumes here, which I have to say I think is better than Aladdin, I don't know if they quite have this, is that in the Broadway show, they use Heelys to ride around and make it look like they're swimming, which I did Little Mermaid, I don't know, like a couple of years back, and we had Heelys, and it was so much fun. Aww. And I have to say, I think that might be a little more fun than the ensemble stressful costume changes. I think it's a good time. But they also have these merblades that they use, too, for, like, the tails. I guess they're called merblades. And it's just kind of, like, propping up the tail so it's not just, like, awkward fabric. Mm-hmm. So I think that that's another interesting thing with the tech for Little Mermaid.
It's very cool. All right, so the last thing we want to talk about is the character development. I feel like that's really important in both of these. So, I already talked a little bit about like Aladdin and Jasmine's development, which is obviously important, but I also think like the character development for the genie is really important. He like is initially he's kind of like the narrator, but he's also primarily he's just like fun and he's into the spectacle and in like Friend Like Me because I mean he's living to serve his master, but eventually we do learn that he's kind of unsatisfied with that form of life. He doesn't want to just serve other people and be stuck in the lamp forever.
I mean, it's sad and lonely.
Yeah, he wants to be set free. And, you know, Aladdin promises that he's going to use a wish to set the genie free, which is like a big part of the show. And, you know, the sad part is that Aladdin does decide to break this promise at some point during the show.
Yeah.
And we see how much that, like, hurts the genie, which makes it mean even more.
That's a great point. And actually, I like that you brought that up because I also know I've focused a lot on Ariel and Eric in the show, and of course they're important in their character development and their story. But another character to talk about here is Ursula. And, I mean, she may not be a helpful sidekick like the genie is, but she's the villain in this story. But I feel like what is kind of missed, especially like the movie misses this mark, and the musical does have this mark in The Little Mermaid, is that Ursula is actually like the sister of King Triton. And I guess they're like supposed to be the children of Poseidon. And she was always that kid, that daughter, who was just kind of like neglected throughout the whole time. And we know that Ariel has a lot of sisters in her show. I think she has 6 sisters. And she is always like, she's the youngest, so she's kind of like baby. She's focused on a lot. King Triton really prioritizes her feelings. And for Ursula, I think she's kind of jealous of Ariel because she never had that. She was always the one who was kind of swept under the rug. No one really cared about her. She was deemed ugly and things like that. And that's why she turned out the way she did. And I think that's interesting to note, like when we see like Ursula's songs and things in the show, why she does what she does. So I feel like that's something to talk about with her as a character.
And I think an important thing with both of these is that, like, well, in Aladdin, the characters do develop and learn to be accepted for who they really are, which is a lovely message for younger audiences. But I also think it's interesting in The Little Mermaid that Ursula is such a, like, 3-dimensional character, and since she doesn't get that, that's, like, why she goes in the direction she does.
That's a great point. And then, of course, we also have Jafar and Aladdin, who doesn't really have as much of a character arc. I don't know, per se. He's kind of always, like, got that one-track mind, like he's power hungry, you know?
Yeah, he does. He's definitely got one thing he's going for. He's willing to do a lot for that.
Yeah, and speaking of Aladdin, we actually have a performance from Saish Pothina, and he will be singing Proud of Your Boy from Aladdin, one of my favorites. Yes. And I cannot wait for you guys to have a listen because he most definitely does this piece justice.
Proud of your boy, I'll make you proud of your boy. Believe me, bad as I've been, Ma, you're in for a pleasant surprise. I've wasted time, I've wasted me. So say I'm slow for my age, a late bloomer, okay, I'd agree that I've been one rotten kid. Some sun, some pride, and some joy. But I'll get over these lousing up, messing up, screwing up times. You'll see, Ma, now comes the better part. Someone's gonna make good, cross this stupid heart. Make good and finally make you proud of your boy. Tell me that I've been a louse and a loafer. You won't get a fight here, no ma'am. Say I'm a gold brick, a goof off, no good, but that couldn't be all that I am. Water flows under the bridge, let it pass, let it go. There's no good reason that you should believe me, not yet. I know how someday it's yours. I'll make you proud of your boy. Though I can't make myself taller or handsome or smarter or wise, I'll try my best, what else can I do? Since I wasn't born perfect like Dad or you, Ma, I will try hard to make you proud of your boy.
right. So Saish was absolutely amazing.
Yes, thank
wow,
you.
that was beautiful. I love that piece, and I loved hearing him sing it. Wow.
Yeah.
Wow.
All right.
So, as we're wrapping up today, we get to hear our decisions. So, before we go into our CCT pick, we will talk about who voted for what on our Instagram. We did a little poll a few weeks back, and the results were 57% for Little Mermaid and 43% Aladdin. Sorry, Sage.
Close match. It's okay. I guess it's fine.
I mean, I have to agree, Little Mermaid is most definitely the superior show.
Okay.
But, I don't know. Let's see what CCT said. So, we have our pick right here. And, oh, man. They chose Aladdin. Oh, no. I'm so disappointed. But you know what? It's okay. I guess we have a win for both shows today.
Yes, this was a close one, guys. Everyone has their different Disney opinions. I feel like
That's
always,
true. That's
always
very
needed.
true.
All right. Well, that's about all for our episode today. It's been super fun to record with
So
you.
much fun.
All right.
Well, I mean, I guess with that, we just want to wrap up one more time and say to please donate and support our partner, Chicago Children's Theater. 70% of the proceeds from this project will be going to fund their projects, and 30% will be going directly to our company to fund our future projects so that we can keep providing more opportunities for local young artists.
Yes. If you'd like to find out more about our company, you can check us out at fourseasonsperformingarts.com.
Yes.
Also, check out all our social medias. We're on Instagram, Facebook, Twitter, and I think now we have a TikTok.
TikTok! Yes, follow us on TikTok.
So, yeah, I think we'll put the names here. I think it's Four Seasons
PACO. Yes.
Very nice.
And once again, a big thank you to Lauren and Saish for performing on today's episode. You were both absolutely amazing.
Yes. All right. Well, we will see you again next week. Check it out next week.
Yes.
Thank you so much.
We'll see you next time. Bye.
And the last thing I hear
As the impact grows near,
is a scream or
a cheer.